It's my 10th book, but it's my first children's book. And it's based on stories I told my kids when they were young. 3 years old to 8 years old is about the age range. And, my wife read stories at night to them. And when it came time for me to put them to bed, I would tell them stories. And I made up stories about a frog. And I actually did have a frog. The book is Fred the Red Frog. And I actually had a pet frog when I was a little boy. It was red. It was that reddish-brown color of the frogs. I've since learned it's called a woodhouse toad. But since I published the book, but Fred the Red Toad doesn't sound as good. And so the frog in those stories, I got into all sorts of misadventures with this boy named Bobby, and they loved the stories. And one day I sat down and put one to rhyme. And my mother, who was an art teacher for 50 years, just recently retired at the ripe young age of 80 years old. And she illustrated it for me. And so I've been touring around. It's been a blast because we're going to, typically when I do book sign, I was looking up here, there's a couple of my books here, and I come to Cater's Market a lot, and I love this place. And Jamie has been a big supporter of mine for I guess, all the 12 years I've been doing books. But it's usually bookstores and gift shops and things like that. With this book, a lot of the places we're going are schools and libraries, and so it's awesome just going. I was at a school the other day with 300 first and second graders. So the energy you get in a room like that, reading a story like this, and then we have a mascot, like a 5-foot red frog that we bring with us, and they go nuts about that. It's been great. I think we're pretty close to selling out.
Really?
Yeah. It's been, and I had never really planned on doing a children's book. I just wrote this for my kids, when I put it to rhime, and the response has been so good. I'd like to do it again. I'm not going to retire from writing children's books, but it's really, it has been a kick going into these schools and libraries, and getting kids turned on to books and turned on to reading. And that's been fun. And this book deals with numbers and colors and things like that. It's fun, but they're learning a little bit too. I met and had breakfast with Julia Child twice, and that was a pretty amazing experience. She'd be up there. First and foremost would be my grandmother. I mean, she never was on a cooking show or had no idea what the Food Network would have been. But truly, my love for food can be traced to her kitchen and her dining room. She was a great cook, and she was a great hostess, too. So, I spent all these Sunday lunches after church with these very elaborate meals that she would cook. And that's where my love of food, although I didn't make the connection at that time that, kind of this is what I'll end up doing one day. I got in the restaurant business because I flunked out of college and started working in restaurants and fell in love with it, developed a passion for it, and then went back to college and got a degree in it, and then we opened up Purple Pear Cafe in '87. Wow. It was my first restaurant. Gordon Ramsay all day long. Yeah, I'm not,
At least you're honest about it.
No, it's not even close. I've been voted best chef in Mississippi 3 times. I'm not even the best chef in my own restaurant. I'm really not. That's not false, modesty or anything. I'm a mediocre chef. I'm a pretty good chef. I've got a fairly good palate, I would say. My skill set is though, because I'm not formally trained as a chef. I was a server all through college, and when we opened the first restaurant, I was the front of the house guy, and we had to fire our chef opening night. So I got back there out of necessity. In the next 4 years, I just worked about 90 hours a week in that kitchen, teaching myself how to cook professionally. And I would drive to New Orleans a lot and kind of eat there, which I had done all my life. I'm an hour and a half away. And I would come back and try to replicate those dishes.
Oh, wow.
And eventually my dishes moved his out off the menu, and he was only there a day. So, but yeah, so that's and so my knowledge is very limited to Creole, Southern, and Italian. That's my wheelhouse. If it's anything with that, I can do great. And so a lot of these cooking shows and competitions and things, man, those guys can do we've got a chef at our restaurant, Jeremy Nofke, at Purple Bear Cafe, who's done a lot of that. And I've done some cooking competitions and done okay with it, but I think cooking ought to be fun.
Yeah.
The competitive thing is not good for me. It kind of makes me nervous. I don't like
stress.
Yeah, it should be fun, really. It's about cooking and sharing. When you have people over at the house, everybody gathers in the kitchen. While you're cooking and you're talking with people and you're visiting with people and you're sharing a meal together. It's sharing a meal is a very biblical thing when you think about it. You think about Last Supper and loaves and fishes. There's so many times, even in the Bible, going way back, that we get together. It's that common thread that runs through our life. We do it 3 times. Nothing we do more in our life, unless you're a newlywed, than eat. 3 times a day, or sometimes like me, it's 4 times a day. But so that's where my passion lies, and that's what I love. I looked for fun in a lot of the wrong places early on in my life. It was part of the reason I flunked out of college. And in 1983, I kind of got my life together, stopped drinking, straightened up, and started working in restaurants and fell in love with it. And so it took me a while, really around the time my kids were born, that I started thinking, what it's all about and trying to figure it out. And I broke it down to 5 things. I write about this a lot. One day I'll do a book about it. But it's faith, family, friends, food, and fun. And those are the 5 things that are really the most important in life, in that order. And it's faith, and then family, friends, food, and you can't take food lightly. It's that thing that's the common bond. I bet if you think back to the times in your life that are the most memorable, probably 8 out of 10 are going to somehow been around food. Whether it was with friends at a birthday and you're having dinner, or you're out with friends in a restaurant and you celebrate it. Me, as I was talking about earlier, at my grandmother's home, that's all 5. Faith, family, friends. It's after church, so faith. Family all around the table. Friends were always invited. Food, you're doggone right. It was great food there. And so the beauty of it is if you have 3 or 4 of those things, then you don't have to look for fun, because it comes. It just happens. So faith, family, friends, when you put all that together, food, then the fun's just there. So you don't have to look in all the wrong places for it. It's just there.